What the fuck?
It's like croutons in a soup.
Don't turn down any opportunity, whether it's a camp, a clinic, because you never know literally who's watching.
Make your own decision and stick with them and know they're the right decisions, right? And even if they aren't right, don't regret them.
He didn't know creatine existed.
So you got him some creatine? He's like, oh, yeah. Lift heavyweight.
Shipped across the border. I shipped across the border.
Shipped across the border, man.
Welcome back to Shipped Across the Border.
What's up, y'all? That was mad weird.
Welcome
I
back.
really hated that.
You didn't like that?
No. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Shipped Across the Border. My name's Max. I'm here with Chris. No guest today, just us. Just some time to catch up. Chris has some stuff written down that he's been keeping very secretive for the last little bit. So I have no idea where this is going to go. What we're going to talk
I don't
about
either, bro.
or anything. But so take it away. Christopher Alfred.
I don't know how to
I
start.
noticed that you signed up for your room as Christopher Alfred Beeman.
Did I?
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Like when you put in your room selection, it says Christopher Alfred Beeman. I respect it. I respected that. I was pleasant surprised when I was checking it.
I don't really know how to start this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell a little backstory, give a little context to what I'm about to say. So recently, I'm going to start this. The podcast has felt so unbelievably dragged out. And like, I've been so not locked into conversations. It started with the Alex Semenov interview. I felt so out of it. And I was like, maybe it's a one-time fluke. Like I'm super lean right now. Maybe my brain's not on. Shay episode, not locked in, like at all. Like they couldn't.
What he's saying is I've been carrying.
Exactly. And yeah, so lately I've just not been locked in. And so I texted a few people, one of them being Brad. And I was like, what's going on? What the fuck do you think this could possibly be? And so I was like going back and forth with him for a few days. And then we had the Jack episode, which I thought went okay. It went pretty well, but I still felt a little out of it. And so I had like an hour and 30-minute long phone call with the young Brad Matsko, which I haven't done in a long time. Yeah. And we went over a lot of stuff. And basically he drilled it down to like, I don't know what my why is. And so he just kept for the podcast specifically was this conversation and a few other things. And so he spent like half an hour just asking me what I think my why for the podcast was. And if you ever talk to Brad for an extended period of time, he just loves to sit in awkward silences. So he'd be like, so what is it? And I would be like, I don't know. And he's like, figure it out. And he's on his computer just talking away. And I'm like, I throw an answer out there. He's like, wrong. Just like getting hit with wrong bombs over and over and over again. And so eventually I stumbled onto the answer that he was looking for. And
He knew it before you.
he said, I mean, the way he talks with a lot of certainty, so maybe he could have been wrong. And I'm also not going to say like he's the overarching, he knows everything. But like when he said this, it made sense to me. And he said the only reason that I haven't quit the podcast yet is because of you and my devotion to you as a friend. And then we went into fucking 30 minutes of my college basketball why. And he was like trying to get me to figure out what that was. And he was like, why did you want to do it? And I was like, I just kept throwing out, like, to impress my parents. He's like, no. I was like, throw out a couple more answers. And then he was like, and I said, is it because I wanted to prove people wrong? And he was like, yes. And that's why when you made it, you proved people wrong. Your why went away. And that's why you quit. And so then he was like, so what is your why for the podcast? Why did you start the podcast? And I was like, and he made me like retell the whole story about how we started it. And so I guess I'm going to start this by asking you, why did we start the podcast?
I have an answer that I might think that Brad was looking for out of you.
Okay.
I think the reason that we started the podcast was because obviously we both had very different paths to get to college basketball. Fortunately, I had a little bit more of an informed, I guess, path on the process due to working with Coach Mom, who allowed me to go to a prep school, and then working with my coach, who's also the athletic college counselor there, and helped me understand pathway and the process, and like we talked about, how to position yourself with the best chances to make something like this happen, right?
Okay.
And you coming from small town, like just working, and then kind of getting lucky, kind of getting a couple
Yep.
opportunities here and there, and then eventually just going downhill and finding yourself over there.
Sure.
I think that we wanted to make but obviously once you found yourself there, having conversations, talking to other people who play college basketball through the interview process, I think originally it was like, it'd be cool to have a podcast and talk about basketball. But as we developed it, it became a platform to help younger people who may be in the situations as you were up until you got to college, or me up until I went to prep school, to help equip them with the necessary information to best position themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think maybe you have lost your motivation with the podcast because the people who you were inspired to motivate have either stopped. So Miles is not playing.
This was the
Richie
point that
is
he
not
made. This is
playing.
one of the points that he made.
Braden, they're all not playing anymore. And so you would go home in the summers and you would work with them
Mhm.
and they would listen to the podcast and take the gems. And it was very close to you,
Sure.
the feedback. And now that it's kind of just you out here kind of doing it without really a clear vision of who you're speaking to,
Mm-hmm.
it might be a little bit difficult for you to continue to show up every day and think of new ideas. Me personally,
Yes.
I never had a clear vision or type of person that I was speaking to.
Sure.
I more had like a general, just like my younger self. Like, what would I have wanted to know? Or like, I mean, when I go home, like at the gym, there's all these little kids who play for the JCC team, or I'm around. Like, I'm not obviously working out with them, but like for example, the trainer that I train with also trains a lot of younger kids. So I've spoken to their group, and I have a lot of ties with different younger communities that are still there. But I never had like I'm in the back of my head, like, this is information for Miles, this is information for Richie. It was more of just general. And so nothing has changed,
Mhm.
if that makes sense.
Okay. So I'm going to try and be Brad for a second, as hard as that is. Why a podcast? Why did we choose a podcast over? Why couldn't it have been a vlog? Why couldn't it have been something else?
I think podcasting was very on the up and up 3 years ago. So it was kind of like something to do. I know personally me, like I was a big podcast guy for a long time. Like if you know me personally,
Mhm.
I like music, but like you ask me who sings this song, who's the artist of this out, like I have no idea. I listen to music here and there when I'm in the shower and when I'm working out. But even sometimes when I'm working out, I'm listening to podcasts. When I'm playing 2K, I'm listening to podcasts. When I'm like, and I watched like the Impulsive podcast. I really like Through the Wire, which was this basketball. Started off as content creators. Now they've all like kind of made it. Work for ESPN, work for Bleacher Report.
Mhm.
It's like Kenny Beecham. I don't know if you've heard of him.
No.
In the fourth quarter, he used to do like rebuilds and stuff. And when I was younger, so I listened to them, listened to Impulsive, listened to obviously the Basement Yard, listened to a bunch of just different types of content. Obviously the JJ Redick podcast was really big for me, and so was the Duncan Robinson podcast. And now they kind of merged. I really, really like the LeBron and Steve Nash podcast now, which formerly was JJ Redick.
Sure.
So I'm big into podcasts. I think it would have been cool to have my own. And I feel like I was fortunate to have been on a path where I have a story to tell and I have knowledge to help other people with. And also, I think having a platform to like bring other people on and hear their perspectives, I think was cool as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, I looked at myself as a pretty decent communicator. Like I feel like I'm relatively emotionally intelligent in terms of like I can get what I'm thinking in my brain out and communicate into the world with I don't want to say with conviction, but just with a smooth transition.
Mhm.
And I thought that a podcast was a good setting for me to be able to share the messages that I have learned or experienced to people who might find it valuable. And I also believed, and I still do believe, that the niche that we have can find a lot of value through what we do.
Mhm. So when I was talking to Brad about this, we dialed it down to the fact that we just kind of picked up a podcast. Like we didn't discuss any other things. We're like, yo, podcast? Like, yeah. And we just kind of took it and ran with it. There was no overarching why. I think we found
Between
it.
the both of us, maybe.
We didn't decide like this is why we're making a podcast. And I think halfway through we sort of developed this voice of like we're talking, at least I did. I was talking to younger kids, or like even I would like to say at some point you were talking to the younger kids out there, or a younger generation of hoopers. And we didn't really develop that voice until we got a few episodes in. But now
This episode was just like
it was random.
What is college basketball? And just
We were-
random, super bullet point.
We weren't speaking to anybody. But then slowly we found our voice, which was talking to younger hoopers. And it gets weird because one, yes, the two hoopers that I was at least the closest to have quit or stopped playing basketball. And so that's definitely one of the reasons why. But the other thing was that the main motivating factor for me, and I figured this out, is in life, at least my whys, because I find myself deep in the cut. I have almost the physique I think I want, which I think might just be an eternal thing. Like I'm never going to be happy with my physique, which is fine. But the why I wanted to do most things is just to prove people wrong. Like my external motivating factor for almost everything in my life has just been because someone said that it was hard to get, that I can't do it, or that it's valuable, which is a weird thing to grapple with, considering that now I have a podcast with 270 followers. I'm fucking shredded. I made college basketball, and that none of those decisions,
None of it mattered.
was internal. That's what I'm saying. I have no internally, there's no internal motivating factor. And then he brought in you. He's like, why do you think Max kept going? And I sat there for a second, mumbled some answer that was clearly, according to him, wrong. And he said the reason that you kept going was just because your motivating factor, your why, was because you love the game. And that's the only reason you're still here, which I think is definitely true.
Definitely.
And so now I'm looking for a why in pretty much everything that I do. And I don't have one.
Internal.
Yes, I don't have one, which is an awkward place to be. So that's sort of where we're starting. That's where we're starting this conversation for right now.
I agree with you. I think since I was a kid, I mean, basketball was the first thing that like helped build my confidence. Like, it was kind of the first thing where I excelled at, as opposed to like my peers and other things. Like we talked about before, I'm not really naturally gifted and talented at anything. I mean, fortunately, I've been able to do really, really well in school now.
Sure.
But that took
It's
me.
not a side effect of natural talent, though.
But that took me a really. I mean, I'd like to think I have a decent bit of natural smarts, but that took me a long time to manifest, and it took me a long time to be able to use that in the ways to beat. Like, I was struck. Like, when I was younger, I was always getting in trouble. Actually, Alex saw one of my teachers at somewhere, one of my like elementary school teachers, and sent me a photo, and she's like, somehow my name came up because she said she worked at Leo Beck. That's where I went. She's like, oh, do you know my boyfriend Max? And she's like,
Boyfriend? Oh, I thought you were saying Alex Semenov.
No,
That's why that
girlfriend.
threw me so hard.
my girlfriend. And she said, yeah, and she started laughing, and she honestly, he was such trouble. Like, I keep him out of class every week. Like, I was really, really not good. And I didn't do well in school. And basketball was like kind of the first thing that
Grounded you?
kind of grounded me, kind of like, I guess gave me kind of like a freedom to just like explore, and also just gave me confidence. I was a little bit bigger than other people, a little bit maybe naturally stronger than other people as a third grader, especially starting early. And it was kind of like the first thing that like, yeah, I guess like gave me confidence. Like, I'm good at this. Like, I want to keep rolling. And then it kind of just, that love for the game just like manifested, and kind of like we were talking about in a like private conversation about like art. I kind of viewed it as like art, and it's like, it's my craft. And obviously now I found my craft is very specifically in like niche of shooting the basketball. And now I'm just like obsessed and like just consumed by like the different ways I can get off my shot when someone's trailing me, and the different options I have. Like, we've been very, very going into extremely specific detail, working on like that, like gets me up in the morning. Like, go and work on coming off a screen, because I know I keep the ball really far to my right side of my body, that like I know hypothetically if I move with enough speed and you're out trailing me, there's nothing you can do to stop me from knocking that shot down. It's getting those reps and getting comfortable with it.
Sure.
And like those things, like, and then seeing, obviously having some success on the court this year, having some of the work that I've done translated, go to the gym by myself and work on shots that I'm going to get in the game, and then later that day make those shots in the game to actually impact the game and win, help us like propel us over the other team. Like, that just, I love that, the game and that part of it. So I think that's definitely why I've kept playing and going to keep playing.
Yeah, it's just internal motivation, which is less perishable, like over time.
Infinite game.
Yeah, exactly. And so I don't have an infinite game right now. And then I was like asking Brad, like, so his infinite game was coaching. And he explained this story about how when he was down in the dumps, he was not down in the dumps, but like he said he was coaching a team that wasn't very talented. And he went from a team, he was coaching like high level basketball, like Team Ontario, and they won the chip. And he was like, you kind of get this feeling after you win one championship, it's much harder to win the second one because it's like, I already did it. Like, I know what that feels like. And so you're much less driven. And then he was like, I was out in
Winning is your only.
then it just falls off. And he said that he was training a different team, much less talented team. They were losing. And a coach that he knew came up to him. This was a tournament in Ohio. And the coach was like, why are you doing this, man? Like, you could be working with the best players at this level all over Canada. And he was like, I just don't want that anymore. And he was like, I realized that while I was coaching this team and they were losing every single game, I was still in it because I was like, well, I just love coaching. As we say, he just loves seeing a player take something that he's given them, use it in game, get better, and then move on with their career.
I like the same. I was kind of just ranting before. It's like, me personally, I like the same thing. I like going to finding a weakness, going to the gym, working on it, turning it into a strength, or finding something that I may have a blossom of potential to be able to exploit in a game and take advantage of, and then working on that and crafting that, and then doing that manifest in the game. And obviously, also I even talk about like above like competition and just going out there being with the guys you're slaving with every single day in the gym, and like going to compete against someone else who is trying to take that away from you. And then obviously the lows suck, losing sucks, but overcoming that and like winning at a high level is also like an amazing part of that within itself.
Yeah. And so I'm spending a lot of thought, trying to figure out what my next thing is, because
Do you think weightlifting is not?
Do I think I love it? Love is such a funny word, but like he said that he could see me having an internal why for weightlifting because it has transferred not only borders, not only time spaces, but also difficulty. Like when I went to Milwaukee, the first thing I did was sign up for a gym. Came back to Elms, first thing I did was go lift weights. Went to Madai, it was lifting weights. I'm in Canada, obviously, like I'm still lifting weights. So there's something more internal about that. But like I just can't wrap my brain around what to pick up now because when I went to go do the sales thing, that sucked. Now I'm doing the podcast thing and feel like it's ran its course, and I don't want to quit. Obviously, because I talked to Sam about this and he like reminded me about how I've kind of built this thing and how, speaking of Sam, I built this thing and to throw it away like this would be very ill thought out. Like to just throw it away would be very not intelligent of me. Ish. It would be very ill thought out of me to just do that. And so now I'm in this weird place where I'm consuming a lot, like a ridiculous amount of content, and everything I read, everything I listen to on a podcast, everything I'm trying to like apply it and find a way to seek a why. And it's like, I don't really know how to do that. Like, how do you find a why? So you have to just do shit.
Well, you definitely have a why for weightlifting.
Which is?
Well, first of all, going back to one of your other vices, which you were spending a shit ton of time doing. So what do you think your why of Fortnite was? It was just to see somebody piss on them and then
No, it's a placeholder. Fortnite is a placeholder because it serves the purpose of competition, but also like video games in general serve the purpose of feeling like you're progressing in something. You're getting better at something. You're moving forward in a path. And so like it's just a placeholder. If you unless you like then it's not, you can't do it. So
I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind, like the differences between me and you as like people, is like I feel like I've always done the same thing for the podcast. Like I've always found the guest, maybe came up with some questions, maybe whatever in my
domain.
A term that I've been using like just mentally recently. You ever heard of the term dollar cost average?
Sure. Where you buy over time to try and avoid.
It's a finance term, and you buy the same amount over time, same frequency over time, and you just doesn't matter what the market is, high market, low market. If it's a good time to buy, bad time to buy, put the same amount of money in with the same amount of frequency.
To avoid fluctuations.
Avoid fluctuation. And I feel like that's been a new mantra of mine. I used to be like water finance level, but something that's more personable because obviously I'm interested in finance, interested in investing, finance and accounting major, want to go into the financial umbrella postgraduate.
Sure.
And so that's kind of something that resonates with me. It's like, for example, every time that I go and have a bad game in my head, I'm just dollar cost average. Just do the thing over and over and over again and continue to put in inputs. And eventually, like if you look at a graph, like it's gonna be trending upwards. And no matter if today is a good day or today is a bad day or today is a high motivation day or today is a low motivation day, whether it's the podcast, whether it's basketball, like I feel like I've grounded myself pretty well in this dollar cost average. I guess mentality is like every day I'm gonna just put deposits in the things that I'm doing, and over time, like for example, randomly on December 31st, we were top 25% podcast on Spotify.
Yes.
Now, was that ever a goal? No, but it was a product of just dollar cost average, and just every for example, we're doing recording every Wednesday and Saturday before.
Yeah, but what is the end goal of that? Why are you putting
exactly? Why does there have to be?
Well, there has to be a purpose.
Game.
Yeah, but what has to be a purpose? Like we're dollar cost averaging, and it's like if I ask why, it's annoying because why questions have an infinite regress, where it's like you can always ask more why questions than there's going to be an answer for, and so that's an annoying thing. But also, if I ask you why keep putting pennies onto the podcast scale?
Because I enjoy it.
Okay.
Because I enjoy it. Gives me.
Because right now I can keep going why, but like I'm not going to.
Do to fill my time.
Sure.
It gives me something to be. I'm building something, contributing to building something. And it's something to be proud of. Like when I look back on the podcast, like I'm proud of the podcast. It doesn't matter if it has 250, 430, we get 1 million views on TikTok. Like when I go through the podcast count, or when people DM, we haven't really got a DM in like a
long time.
But like when people comment on the thing, random people comment to the thing, or random people start to follow us or whatever. Like I'm proud of the thing that we've built. Like I put Shipped Across the Border in my Instagram bio. Like I'm proud that represents me, everything. But I want to continue to build it because I enjoy it. Kind of the same thing with basketball.
Sure.
It's like I'm going to play basketball until the end of next year and then probably just be a Brody League legend after that. But it's just because I love basketball. And like basketball represents me when I go out on the court and I play, and that reflects positively on me because of all the work I put in. Like I enjoy that. I enjoy going working. Like we talked about what I just went on a rant about when you asked me that question originally. I think it comes from the same place. It's just I enjoy doing it.
Okay.
So
I'm going to ask you one more question.
But I think my whole point while saying that is I think your efforts don't follow the dollar cost average method. You don't put the same input in consistently. I think your inputs fluctuate very drastically.
Yeah, but I have a baseline. My baseline is one podcast a week and one short form piece of content a week. That's the baseline. Baseline I found myself at for the last 3 months, 4 months.
Yeah, but it goes like this. Like,
Sure.
Like when we were doing the vlog and we were
Mhm.
doing the at the end of the season versus the start, we did the senior night thing, and when we're doing and when you start to think about all the coaches we'd have on, whatever, like the marketing, so it's not the input is very up and down with you.
Sure.
And I mean, it's also like that for basketball too. It's like no basketball, no basketball, no basketball, basketball tournament.
Okay, but the thing
tournament.
is, so then weightlifting, it's 4 times a week, every single week.
Weightlifting is different. Weightlifting is different. I think weightlifting is one of your infinite games. I don't know if you dug up the reason as to why.
I think I have one of the reasons. I don't know if I want to say it on the podcast, but I think I have one of the reasons. But I'm going to ask you one more thing before we move on to the next thing I have on here, because I think that's going to tie into this nicely. Why do you want to go into the finance banking type of thing?
Exact same reason as I like to play basketball, and the exact same reason that I do a podcast.
Which
It's
is?
interesting, and I enjoy it. I enjoy looking at the stock market and tracking the things that I'm invested in, and having conversations with other people, trying to predict events that are happening, how it's going to impact things. I enjoy doing the activities in class that Amanda Garcia has us for my money and banking class. Like we do debates. I enjoy doing the debates and picking a side and trying to argue that. I enjoy. She has us doing one activity where we're a bank and we have to invest and do different things, and we're competing with the other bank for who
Out-earn.
makes more money based on how much you loan other people and what you spend money into and what you invest, and how much debt do you take out in order to finance your investments, and what is the return on investment, all these type of things. I just think it's interesting and I enjoy it.
Okay.
I also think that, I mean, like I said, I pride myself on being a strong communicator, and in the financial, I guess, sector that I want to go into, which I don't necessarily know whether it's insurance, whether it's personal finance, whether it's wealth management, whatever it is, there is talking to other people, there's building relationships, there's movement, going out, and it's kind of sales, but it's also kind of just it's sales, but sales is something I'm passionate about. Like I'm working for a company, I'm passionate what we could do for you. I'm going to be able to very strongly speak with conviction about why I think you should join us, whatever it is, whatever I am working for at the time.
Mhm.
And I enjoy those topics, those discussions, those debates, those doing that research and just the understanding and building that knowledge and wealth.
So if it turns out you hate it,
Yeah.
what happens to that why?
Yes.
Because it's this is where I'm going with this. Is saying you enjoy it for me, is that enough? Because I enjoyed this for a really long time. And I can't tell if recently it's because I'm lean and I'm just out of this world in my head and it's all over the place, or if it's literally just because I feel like it's run its course and I'm no longer enjoying it, which is you just need more data until I figure out if that's true or not. But if you solely rely on the fact that you enjoy the thing, because you don't enjoy basketball every single day.
No.
And so saying enjoying it is your why, I don't think it's enough. If you would have said in the banking and finance term, if you were I really like and you can't say that you like the process because you haven't done it yet, but it's if you like the idea of taking someone's money, finding the most efficient way to put it into the market and have it grow over time, then I would have been okay, that's the process, because you can do that without all the external factors. So is that what it is?
I mean, I don't really know. Say it.
That's where I was
I
going.
think it's something that I would enjoy doing. I just think, I mean, I don't know. I'm doing my internship in insurance this summer, which is under the financial umbrella, and we'll see how that goes. And I'm optimistic that I'm going to enjoy doing that.
So this is the process of finding a why. You can't think yourself into a why. You just have to do stuff, and then you put roots in the fact that well, now I realize that this is actually the process of this. I actually really enjoy, and I'm going to keep moving.
Interesting, because I don't enjoy. We played Wednesday. Full transparency, I could not hit a shot, and Ben and Chris kicked the shit out of me today.
4-1. Half court and 3 spots. 4-1.
We did my drill, which I won.
Oh, we're gonna count
And then
that.
we did.
I got 2 spots there though.
No, you got 1 spot. You got 1, Ben got 1, I got 2.
Okay.
And then we did 6 spots of 1.
Yep.
I won 1, you won 3, Ben won 2.
And I won the last 1v1 half court.
Yeah. Yeah, so but me getting my ass beat today has no impact on me wanting to go back tomorrow. If that makes sense.
It's interesting because but in the process of getting your ass kicked, did you enjoy being there?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I was playing with Ben the other day, and he was frying me. He's been frying me a lot lately. And I, at one point, just started like throwing him the ball and hoping he would miss because I hated it. And so even
I mean, yeah, it's frustrating, but
and I found myself thinking to myself because of this whole why conversation, like,
why the fuck am I doing this?
yeah. And then you go to the point, it's like I'm burning calories, and that's the only reason I'm really there. And so it's still an externally motivated factor. I'm not doing
My
it.
thing is dollar cost average. Okay, this is a shit day. Just because today was shit day doesn't mean tomorrow's gonna be shit day.
Yeah, but you're also putting pennies in the bank because you love the game. So it's like you're able to.
I also have like I'm not doing this for fun. Like I am doing it for fun because I love it, but like I have one more season of college basketball where we're just coming off being the first team, literally one of two teams in the entire school this year to make the postseason, but also the first time men's basketball made the postseason in the last 10 years, most conference wins in the last 10 years. XYZ almost 500 in 2025 and whatever, like all these things. And on top of that, we have a lot of guys returning, and we're gonna have
A lot of competition.
a lot of competition. And so, I mean, fortunately, I'm in a good spot to be able to maintain and grow upon my role, but I need to be input, put pennies on the scale, do dollar cost average extremely consistently over a long period of time in order to put myself in a position where I can receive the fruits of my labor, like I was able to see moments of this year, expand on that and keep growing on the things that I built from this year and from years past. So I do also have external motivation.
Yeah.
It's just mine's farther, you know what I'm saying? It's not like, just like farther down the line.
This is why these conversations are so tricky because they're so abstract, and a why is hard to define. At least I haven't put enough thought towards it to define it, but I'm going to sidestep that a little bit because there's 3 pieces of content that I consume that I think.
Just finish that first.
Sure.
There was a time I went to your room and I was like, yo, I'm concerned that like a lot of the things, the reason why I'm doing it is like for other people, like to prove other people wrong, to have something. You remember this conversation that we had? To like have something that other people deem valuable, and then inherently that doesn't mean anything because having something that other people deem valuable doesn't mean anything. It doesn't hold any actual fulfillment.
Getting results you don't want to
Yeah.
impress people you don't
So
like.
Exactly. So we talked about that, and then we went through all the reasons why. Because there was honestly a time where I was like mad frustrated with basketball, and it's like, do I really love the game, or do I what I want? This picture in my head, this perfect Max Rolnick who has achieved all these things in basketball, and what I want other people to perceive me as through my basketball career. And then obviously there are things of both that I do want other people to think of me as a dog. Like people come to the games, but like, he's nice, you know what I mean? Or other, for example, this summer, like I want the other team to suit up and be like, damn, we got to play this guy. Like how are we gonna shut him down? Like I want that. I enjoy that aspect of it. Obviously, beating teams and being posted about on social media for example, like fortunately, I was nominated for like most improved male athlete of the year, and for the other Ironman award that I was also a finalist for. Went 0 for 2 yesterday, but I mean, it is what it is. That was all the recognition I needed was to be nominated. And there are those external factors as well, and also like I just talked about of building on what I built this year and securing. Like it's going to be way harder for me next year to even have the role that I had this year because there's going to be a lot more competition. So now I have to work extra harder to not only maintain, but my goal isn't to average 9 minutes a game or whatever it was this year. My goal isn't to shoot 30% from 3 or whatever it was this year. I want to continue to build on that, so I have to work that much harder to take that next step. And it's going to be harder. Like it's like a video game. It's like once you reach level 99, to get from 99 to 100 is the same amount of XP as it is from level 1 to level 99. You know what I'm saying? So there are those external motivations, but there is also internal motivation. And I think that's very normal. Like
Because the internal sustains you and the external falls away.
I mean, the internal sustains you until there's new external that just shows itself, you know?
That was philosophical.
Everything else philosophical? Because think about it. So I mean, let me process so I don't liken and my way
I think
through
I
this.
just fucked that a little bit. I think my mic might have been muted the whole time, but it's fine.
Whatever.
We are
I think
recording. We are
that-
recording though, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that you need to have both because it's like a pull and push. It's like the internal is pushing you and the external is pulling you.
Yeah.
And once the external doesn't pull you anymore, you're going to stick if you don't have the thing behind you still pushing you forward. Now listen, you're going to move a lot faster if you have an internal drive and an external drive pulling you and pushing you at the same time, moving faster. But once you, like for example, this summer when I played Brody, or last summer when I played Brody, and I was super anticipating being posted on their social media for winning player of the game or for being a top 5 scoring leader. Like that was super motivation that week to like, let's go, let's keep working out. Like I got 1 or 2 more weeks in order and got to maintain the scoring average. But then once they post me, that kind of goes away. And then for example, then once we won the championship, that kind of goes away of like the external recognition and all that stuff. But I always had that internal factor of just loving the game and enjoying the process of getting better, of doing the things I need to do to get better, even when it sucks, or the feeling after doing something that sucks, knowing that I put a dollar cost average today. I put a penny on the scale to the goal that I have that's really far down the line. And I always have this like thing pushing me. So it might be moving slower. It might be moving slower than when I have the external things pulling me and
It
pushing
stays
me
on the
at same
tracks
time.
longer though.
But it stays on the track and I'm still moving forward.
I think honestly, it goes down to like who are you putting pennies on the scale for? Is like, am I
Oh,
putting?
if you don't put pennies on the scale for yourself,
Exactly what I'm
then you're
saying.
not going to have the thing
But
pushing you.
that's the internal, and then the external is like. And also, by the way, there's when you say the external is pulling you, it could also be pushing you because Jordan Peterson talks about this all the time. It's like you have negative and positive reinforcement. So if you have something you're running away from and something you're running
I mean, you can
towards,
take those two metaphors and switch them of the thing that is internal is pulling you and the external
yeah.
is pushing
But
you.
he puts it in terms of like there's actually a scientific study about this where they put a rat in a cage and they put the smell of cheese in front of them and they'll pull pretty hard and they attach its tail to like a spring and then they'll put cheese in front of it and they'll put a smell of a cat behind it and it'll pull 2 times harder when both forces are working at the same time.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I was talking about. But just it's this all those external factors and then there's also internal factors. So I think that you need to have both, but if you're going to have one, it has to be the internal that's pushing you. Otherwise, because the external dries up.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna move on to one more thing because I don't know how much time we have left. Is Zoom fucking free? Like, okay, if we just keep yapping, but we don't have anyone on the other side, like, are we gonna have more than 40 minutes?
We're going to find out.
Okay. Well,
You didn't ask your thing. I cut you off.
what thing?
You said you're going to go into something, and then I brought
That's
back
this
the
thing.
conversation that we
This
had.
thing.
Oh, you're talking about that conversation.
This thing.
Okay.
So there's like 3 pieces of content I've consumed in the last month that have really stuck with me. And the first was a TikTok that Chris Williamson was talking about. It was really short, it was really to the point, but he said most people never change. They might change their haircut, they might move cities, but internal, they stay the exact same. And then Alex Ramosi, I'm gonna try not to butcher this. I have a picture of this in my phone for this exact reason. He echoed that with one of his tweets. No way, I don't have it right now. Most people live the same 6 months 100 times in a row and then they die. And so I heard those 2 things.
That's only 50 years, though.
Yeah, you can amplify it how far you want it to go, but it's still the same thing. And then I watched the movie Into the Wild. Have you seen it? It's the one I was telling you about the athlete who goes into the wild, and we were going to watch it in the common room. But basically, this kid named Chris McCandless, this is based on a true story. He comes from a wealthy family. He graduates from Emerson College.
Emerson?
Yeah.
Like downtown, like where Shea were?
Emerson College.
Right.
And he has a pathway to go to Harvard. And the opening scene is him talking to his dad at a dinner table, and his dad's like, "How much is left in the college fund?" He's like, "Exactly $24,867, whatever." And so this whole expectation for him is to go to college, live the normal life. He comes from a wealthy family, and a lot of things have been given to him. And he decides to take the $24,000 he's been given, give it to charity. He burns his birth certificate, snips up all identification that he could have, and he just hitchhikes across America. And so he has this radical individualism. And there's a point in the movie where he ends up in Idaho or somewhere really far away from his hometown. And he gets somewhat taken in by this old dude named Ron. And this dude named Ron has been living the same life ever since his kid and wife died in a car crash. He has like a leather shop. He works in his leather shop, goes to work, comes back, lives the exact same life. And so you have this radical human being who comes into his life. And there's a point in the movie where he's standing on a mountain and Ron is down there and he's talking to Ron and he says, "The core of man's spirit comes from new experiences." And he looks around, he says, "You need to make a radical change in your lifestyle." And the end of the movie for this kid was him looking up in his trailer, because the whole goal of the movie is he wants to go to Alaska. That's his thing. He wants to go, he says, "I'm going to go way the fuck out there. There's just game and nature and woods and just way the fuck in it." And he wants to be away from people. So you have this 20-year-old kid who has no survival experience trying to survive in the wild. And so he goes out there, and the end of the movie, and this really happened, he misidentifies a plant and he eats it. And one of the side effects of eating this plant is that your body throws up any nutrients you try and put in it. So the end of this kid's life was him staring through a window in the top of the trailer that he found out in the Alaskan wilderness, starving to death. But there's a point in the movie, and this is like the big turning point in the movie, where he grabs his notebook where he's been journaling in every single day. And he writes in the notebook, "Happiness is only real when shared." And that was the last thing he ever wrote on this planet. So the takeaway from the movie, a lot of people take a lot of stuff away from the movie. This is an idiot kid. It's like a cautionary story not to be dumb with your youth. But the thing that I took away, at least, was that his whole life, the only thing that mattered to him in the end of it was not him being isolated away from society, all of his motivations, nothing. It was just the relationships he made along the way. It's the only thing that mattered to him. The only moments that were real was when he made connections with people. So all of that tied in together to say that I feel like I've been living the same life for a little bit too long. And like I looked in the mirror and
Since you quit basketball.
I think so, since my dad, because when he said the core of man's spirit comes from new experiences, you need to make a radical change in your lifestyle. I thought, and I was like, when is the last time I made a radical change? Like, I feel like I'm the same person. I've been the same person for at least the last 5 years.
5 years? What was I mean, I think the last radical change you made was quitting basketball, which was
Yeah.
that's a pretty radical change to your lifestyle.
Is it radical enough though?
I mean, you're the person that determines that.
That's what I'm saying, is like-
I think it completely redirected you on a completely new path. But I can understand how you would think that you've been living the same life since you left.
Do you think you've made a radical change in your lifestyle? You've been living the same 6 months for the last 12, 16, 16, 19, 21 years?
I'll take it one step further. I think I've been living the same week for the last. I would do it until I die, and I'd be pretty happy with that.
You're okay with that?
Yeah.
I don't think I am. And the problem with this is too. So after watching the movie, they romanticized the idea of who this kid was as a person, but he was very, very, very into philosophy. And as he went through the world, it seemed fairly apparent that all the people he interacted with wanted him to stay in their life. So he ends up in this hippie bus with this couple who lost a kid, and they wanted to adopt him and him to stay. When he leaves Ron, the 69-year-old leather maker, Ron offered to adopt him. And as he's making his way across America, he had a pretty big impact on the people that he met, because he had this radical sense of individualism. At one point in the movie, Ron asks him how old he is, and he was like, I'm 23. And he's like, don't you think you got to be making something of this life, getting an education? And then Chris is like, I'm not desperate. His name is Chris, but he changes his name to Alexander Supertramp when he burns all of his stuff. But his real name is Chris, based on a real guy named Chris. And Ron asks him, don't you think you should make something of this life, get an education and all this? And he goes, I have a college degree. I'm not destitute. I'm doing this by choice. And so he chose to give up all of modern society's comforts to go radically experience life away from people. And so that's super empowering. But then the real message afterwards, looking into it, I was like, that's cool as shit. Like, could I actually, like, maybe I'll just travel
He
the
just
world.
dies at 23.
Exactly. So that's the thing, is like, there's a part of me that's attracted to what he's saying about like this whole radical individualism and leaving everything behind and going and just doing stuff. But there's also, for some reason, a part of me that's hesitant, because is it just my naive 22-year-old self that doesn't see the downsides of becoming this radical individualist who has no skills, no money, no relationships, and just does whatever he wants? So it's like two very opposing
How long
forces.
did he do that for?
Well, I'll look it up.
Let's just say
A
it's
couple years. I think it's a couple years.
well. If let's just say it's 5 years.
hmm
Don't you think that you would make more? He said like whatever life is new experiences.
The happiness is only real when shared, and the core of man's spirit comes from new
So
experiences.
don't you think you can have new experience and share more happiness over a 77, 80, 85-year life than you could over a 23-year life?
Say that again.
Don't you think you could make more experience, have more experiences, share more happiness through a life of 80, 85, 90 years as opposed to a life of 23, 25 years?
Well,
Is 2 years of going balls to the walls, exploring, and then end up dying because you ate a plant and you just give up, let go of every nutrient that your body could possibly hold for 700 and
obviously, that's not the part of the journey you want to emulate. But the thing,
800, what's that? So what's 365 times 2? 720, 730?
something like that.
730. So is it worth 730 new? Don't you think you can get more than 730 new experiences in a 78-year life than you could in a 20?
Some people don't. Some people have lived the exact, like I said, same 6 months for the last 50 years, and then they die. And he had more new experiences in 2 years than they ever will in their entire life. And so you end up with this predicament, this philosophical predicament, where, and Alan Watts used to talk about this too, where he said, it's better to live a short life, enjoying what you do. I should probably pull this up because I forgot this quote. Than a long life lived in a miserable way. It's better to live 80 years miserably, or 25 years enjoying every single second.
I think, I don't know. I mean, like you said, like, I think I lived the same week, like pretty much, other than like maybe a trip here or like a new experience there. But I wouldn't have it any other way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel extremely fulfilled with the vice, with the music that I'm doing right now.
The muse, did you say it?
Hard. What do you know about that word? What do you know about that word?
I know what the word means, but like
Shout out
the,
Dr. Drake song.
the blank canvas that you paint on every day.
Like which is basketball, which is the podcast, which is being involved in all the things that I'm involved in the school.
Sure.
I get a lot of fulfillment out of those things, of talking to family, friends, playing video games, like just doing those things. But I don't know that even if I could had a new experience offered to me, I don't know if I would like,
Take it?
Take it. Like I'm
think
very.
this is where
I
we-
don't even want to say I'm comfortable because that kind of has a bad connotation when we're comfortable. But I mean, I am comfortable, but I
I think the word
enjoy.
the content is the word you're looking for.
I enjoy, like.
I think contentness and comfortability can be separate. You can be content in a new experience, and you can be
Yeah, I think that I'm content. I enjoy. Like for example, we were talking about this when I went home for what did I go home for? Spring break? Was it spring break?
Is that where you went to
Time?
Laurentian? Not Laurentian,
Laurier?
Laurier, yeah.
So I went home to spring break, and actually, this is funny. So one of my parents' closest friends, like growing up with their kids, like they have siblings. Every like matches me, my brother, my sister perfectly. My mom was roommates with like her friend in college, and then like whatever. We've been close friends, and they're actually friends with Alan's family too. But basically,
Tell me what this is.
he's a dentist. His name is Mike Cohen.
Okay.
He's a dentist. He, I guess, kind of not thinks like you, but like he goes through phases of like he's really into weightlifting, and then he does like triathlons. He does like I think he did an Ironman.
Aspire.
Like or I don't know if it necessarily.
There's going to come a point in my
But,
lifting
like,
career where I decide to do something like that. I can
something
tell.
like that. It was something like that, like extremely endurance training twice a day, and then now he's kind of just lifting for like health reasons, and he is working on becoming a commercial pilot. So like very different things, all things that are fulfilling for him. He's doing a lot of these things that are fulfilling for him, but also challenging and just completely different. And we were having a conversation, and we were what's if you could pick one place to go for vacation, where would you go? And we were talking, and he was hysterically laughing at my answer, which was there is no place in the world where I'd rather be right now in my life than going and spending winter break with my grandparents in Florida. At their place, they have an indoor basketball court, they have an outdoor basketball court, they have a full weight room, they have a room with like free weights and TRX and chin-up bars and all these different things. They have a stretching room, they have ice baths, they have saunas, they have hot tubs, and I spent my whole day. That's where I met actually Shay, is in this when I was staying with my grandparents, and my family's fortunate enough to have that's what my grandparents spend like 2/3 of the year. Sure. So we go and spend some time with them during winter break, like almost every year since I've been born, pretty much.
Okay.
And I've grown up on those outdoor courts, in those indoor courts, lifting in that weight room. And just now, I mean, this year they added like they've always had the sauna, but I mean, like when I was younger, I wasn't using the sauna.
Okay.
But like now, whatever. And it's literally a basketball grind workout heaven. And then I mean, there's some good restaurants too there. Like they have a pool, obviously, and in the community. And like there's nowhere I would rather be other than there.
Mm-hmm.
And he was laughing hysterically. He's like, "Don't you wish you were on a beach going to like whatever, going here and whatever." Like honestly, like there's nowhere in the world where I'd rather be than be there doing the things that I'm doing. And so
Okay.
I think that kind of just speaks on like the contentness of where I am and what I've been doing in the same week that I've been living over and over and over and over again.
Do you think that answer will change after next year?
That I don't know. See, like that's where I was going next. It's like maybe when I'm 26, 27, years out of college, working, doing whatever I'm doing,
Mm-hmm.
basketball is not at the forefront of my life and my purpose and my fulfillment and just like how I view myself as a human being anymore, then that might differ. But honestly, like I actually, and I've sat by myself before bed thinking of like having these conversations with myself, and I do see myself like when I move out of my parents' house, moving to an apartment building that has a basketball court in it, and going and playing basketball and just working on my jump shot. And he didn't say hi, Beth.
Nope.
You know,
He left undelivered. I mean, I knew he wasn't going to look back at me. Shout out Jay Marshall.
Let's take that out.
Hi. Shout out Jay Marshall.
And just like working on my game and doing kind of the same things that I'm doing now,
Mm-hmm.
but just obviously way less intensity and way less frequency. And I mean, just doing it purely just because I love doing it, as
Mhm.
opposed to like I genuinely see myself like doing that, maybe like lifting twice a week and doing that 2-3 times a week as like my physical activity to like release stress from work or whatever I'm doing.
I think this is where our constitutions just differ. Because like if you haven't watched Into the Wild and you haven't watched The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, but like these are two movies that speak to something in my brain. And I think this is the problem with like human action is like just a lot of the times we don't know why we do what we do. We just like keep moving forward, or at least you don't process why you do what you do. Yeah. And so it's like, you don't know why you're drawn to a certain thing. Like,
I'm not gonna lie to you, like now that I'm really starting to think about it, like I genuinely think I'm gonna live as close to this week that I possibly can, like until it's.
And it doesn't bother you.
And it doesn't bother me at all.
That bothers the living shit out of me. That's why when I read that quote, I was like,
there's nothing else I'd rather do.
Dude, if I live the same 6 months, 50 times and die, I'm going to be angry, like quite angry.
No, I'm pretty happy, content with like, and obviously like the responsibilities change, and I mean the school will change to work, and basketball will be less because I have less time and everything. But the general like sum of what I'm doing is probably going to be very similar for a very long time. Just
what is at the center point of that?
Fulfillment.
From where?
From internally.
From what?
Doing the things that I like to do.
Which are?
Basketball. Basketball.
Okay, but so there's basketball, but there's also something else attached to that. There's no, like, if I told you for the next 12 hours, every single day you could play nothing, you could nothing but play basketball, like you would get bored. So there's other things attached to that.
I mean, I think basketball is very big. There's so many different things.
So I assume what you're saying right now is that you want to have a few good meals a week. You want to have kids. You want to have a wife. You want to enjoy that kind of life. You want to go 9 to 5 twice a year. All that stuff is fine with you. You're cool with that as long as I can play basketball, hang with my kids, hang with my wife, work a job that I don't completely hate, and then die. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I am not. I would rather, and I'm pretty sure also the center point of that is probably money for you as well, where it's like, I'm okay to do that because if you weren't getting paid, you wouldn't do that.
If I make a decent enough money and have decent enough freedom to where I can go on a vacation twice a year, spend time with my wife and kids,
play basketball,
lift occasionally, go play basketball, hang out with my friends.
It's cool.
Go to the casino once in a while.
It's cool.
Yeah, that's it.
So like, do you know what your bar is for money? Where's the baseline that you think that like I'll be okay with this? I'm pretty sure we had this conversation. But like, what's the baseline where it's like I think I can do that to live that life?
I don't know what. I mean, fortunately, I've grown up in a position where like I am not constantly stressed with money, which is like obviously super. What's the word? I'm not super fortunate, but it's like a very big luxury, and like I recognize that a privilege.
So to materialize what you're saying, what is the number of money?
I don't know because
you have no idea.
Never had to be in like I don't know. I don't know how like I have a very weird concept with finances because I don't have to. I'm fortunate in a position I don't have to support myself. Like I'm recognizing that I'm very privileged saying that. And so I can't exactly tell you how much money I would need to make in order to live a lifestyle that I want because I don't know because I haven't had to do that.
Okay. Because I was hoping you were gonna say like 80 grand a year, which like
we did have a conversation. It's like, dude, there's no way you can do any of the things I just said with 80 grand a year.
Because like what you're saying, you're saying, I was hoping you were gonna materialize it so I could exemplify what I'm about to say from my point of view. So when I said 80 grand a year, I would be okay on 40 grand a year as long as I was not living in the same place for longer than 6 months at a time.
No, here's the thing.
Constantly chasing new experiences. Constantly having new experiences, tasting different things, meeting different kinds of people, living different kinds of lives. Just radical, not individualism, but radical new experiences for a certain period of time. I'm not going to be okay until I get that out of my system. And I don't know if it's ever going to leave.
You want me to tell you something funny that you're going to be very upset about? In terms of, or you would actually not. Like, you would hate this. Sure. If you happen to you, but obviously me doing it doesn't impact anything to do with you. I genuinely told my parents one of my biggest goals in life is I want to personally buy the house that I grew up in from my parents when they decide to move out.
That's not a motivating factor for me at all.
And I want to live. I want to live in my house until the day that I
die. The house that I currently live in has been in our family for I think like 300 years at this point.
I mean,
maybe not that long, but it's a while.
Like this house is my parents built this house that we live in.
So did my grandpa
years ago. And so, like, no one else is living. Like, I want to buy this house from my parents when they decide to move into an apartment because they're obviously just living with just them two, and a big house doesn't need with like 5 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, whatever it is. Says they don't need that. I want to be the person to buy from them, to keep this house in my family, to live in the same place that I've lived my entire life. I want to live in the same home until the day I die. So
I understand the motivation. It's like a territorial thing to some degree.
Not even just because I'm content there.
You're content, but also does not hold memories for you that you don't want to see fall away.
It does hold memories, but I'm content with that being my home in the area that I live in, with the people that live around me.
It's too much familiarity. It's like,
but the thing is, like, I thrive in familiarity. Like, I am not myself playing basketball when I'm not playing with people that I'm familiar with. Like something, and one of the things that I'm genuinely like thinking
Well, I
of
feel that too.
is like I am so much more better and confident in myself when I'm in a place where other people know me. I know how they play, and that gives me confidence. Like I need to. That's why I feel like I was also so much better this year than I was last year. Is because last year I came into a team, no one knew me, no one knew how I played, and that's a big learning curve. This year we returned a lot of people, and they all know how I played to get me the shots that I look for, that I work on. And I think that next year is going to build on top of that. And obviously, like going into a coach's office and having meetings about different shots that I should be working on that he wants to get me in to get me more looks at next year and whatever. And that familiarity is something that really allows me to be confident in myself. And I enjoy and feel content with familiarity. I don't find that doesn't like
It's not boring.
it's not boring. No, I don't find mundaneness in familiarity. If anything, I get excited. Like the more I can build familiarity with the thing around me, I enjoy my environment more.
I'm starting to think that we just have like radically different constitutions. Like I don't know if I can do that because I'll ask you this. This might be a
Like
good.
for example, this is also another thing that like when they asked me what room I wanted for an RA next year,
want the exact
I
same
said I
room.
wanted the exact same room. Even though it's not, I could have a bigger room. I could have a washroom in my room with the shower or whatever. I don't care. Familiarity excites me. I enjoy, like, I am content with familiarity. And the more I can build familiarity, like I said before, like that makes me happy.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you this. If you were going to go do something new,
Yeah. What would it be?
no.
Oh.
But
This has to be.
it's, well, yeah, no, it has
Over
because it's 5:35. We have 25 minutes left.
It has to be
But-
opening when you have
so-
guests on.
If you were in your mind, you thought to yourself, I want to go do this new big thing or make a radical change, but people are going to think this or it's going to cost this much. Like, what would be the first impediment that would come to your mind?
Other people's like thoughts and opinions sometimes render. And
Okay.
I feel like since I was young, I was always like, I feel like it's supernatural for everybody to like care about other people things. But as I feel like I've matured, I've really been able to ground myself in the things that I'm doing and the avenues of growth that I'm following, which has really removed me from other people's opinions and other people's thoughts and doesn't affect me nearly as much as it maybe has in the past.
Okay, but like what I'm saying, what is the impediment? What would it be for you? Like, would your immediate thought be like, if you internally, it's hard because like you can't put you in that state of mind. But if you had seen something, and you're like, that's cool, I want to go do that. But how much does it cost? But they're going to think this. But my parents are going to think this.
First thing that comes to my mind, which is going to very well put a stamp on everything I've said previously, is it going to fuck up my routine?
Okay.
I'm being like, so for example,
Do they have a basketball court?
like you think it's funny, but like that's when
No, I get
that's
it.
when my parents book vacations when we were younger.
Well, that's
like,
what I feel with the
first
gym.
thing is like, do they have a basketball court for Max? Because I need to have routine. And so something that I actually lied awake for an hour last night. I was gonna try and go to bed at like 11:30. I went to bed at 1 because I was in my head trying to process how I'm going to be able to schedule myself and the workouts I have to do this summer with my work schedule because I'm working 35, 40 hours a week and I'm commuting downtown 3 days a week and I'm hopefully going to be going to Alex's cottage over the weekend and spending time on the lake and stuff like that. And so how can I genuinely was like stressed and couldn't sleep because my routine there's a number of days. Like my first day of work is in like whatever, like 27 days or whatever it is. Like, and my routine is going to be drastically thrown off and I have to reconfigure my structure and routine and familiarize myself with the new lifestyle that I will be living for the next summer. And like that stresses me out. So like it would probably be that.
Okay, because like when I think,
And what does that say about me? I don't know.
I think it just shows how different our constitutions are because what I'm about to say is going to be the complete opposite of that, kind of, in some ways. When I think I want to go do this thing, so let's say hypothetically, I want to go travel to this country. My first thought isn't what are they going to think? My first thought isn't how much is it going to cost? My first thought isn't that. And all of those things cross my mind. And if the answer is they're going to think this and it's negative, I'm like, good. That's because I'm so contrarian that it's ingrained in me where it's like, they're like, yeah, they're going to think this. Good, glad. That makes me want to go more. And the only impediment to me is, will I survive? I think that's what it is. I asked you that question without thinking about the answer for myself.
You just want to prove people wrong.
So like, I wanted to go travel. What would be the impediment?
That makes sense.
No, money is the impediment though.
When I was
The
trying
first
to
thing I
get you to
think,
play in our summer league game, and I'm like, bro, you're being a bitch. Like, just stop, just fucking play with us. Like, you're being a bitch, and like me saying that made you actively not want to play so much more.
yeah, I have a huge resistance to what people say in either direction. And so it's a great external factor. It just runs out really quickly, depending on because you can't.
Damn, no one's saying anything, right?
I'm fucked. I can't. What am I going to do? But like especially
waiting in your room, ears to the wall until someone says,
please, someone make fun of my abs. I beg. But like, actually, though, when I say that, also, this is funny as shit because Key, not that long ago, called me fat or said he had better abs than me. And so internally, that's when I had those 2-week spurts where I was so dialed, didn't miss a meal, didn't miss my sleep. Part of it was that because I was like, Kim, like, I love that little moment. I think I have it wrote down here. Fuck you, watch me. Like, that's so ingrained in me, man. And I love that. But it's not sustainable at all. And so what we're left with,
I don't really know.
it gets so weird and abstract for a 20-year-old.
Interesting conversation. I didn't expect it to go.
Yeah, no, but it's so weird and so abstract. But like,
Um,
I just think I'm a person of radical change. I think the reason we're going to tie it back to is like, I need to go do so many new things to the point where I maybe have to fall back into routine because I know that's also probably not sustainable. Because to some degree, you can't. Look at with Chris McCandless, you can't travel the world and do all that stuff and also have a family and live a certain type of lifestyle because otherwise your kids are going to die in a trailer and it's not a good look. So it's.
you said you wanted to have kids and have a family and stuff.
I do, which is again, there's like opposing parts of me in my brain. But right now, I think just radical risk taking as well. I also think that your risk tolerance is significantly lower than mine.
Yeah.
Like significantly
Well,
lower.
it's gonna fuck my. The more risk I take, the more it's gonna fuck my routine.
Well, it's also like I'm willing to spend more money, go into more dangerous situations, do dumber things. Like there's risk tolerance is built into me, and so
I'm very conservative in terms.
yes, and so it's like this also might be exemplified by college too because it is so routinized and like I've been living the exact same life, and so
yeah,
it's. I wish I had another person who was like 10 years ahead of me and could explain to me that they pursued this path of like taking a bunch of random risks in their
and it wasn't worth it.
and it wasn't worth it. Because then I'd be like, okay, well, he said this, so maybe I can like implement a little bit of risk, but I can also still be like
You want to.
a normal human being. Yeah, but that's like super one end of the spectrum, and also I can't really ask him what happened because he's
I'm
dead.
trying to think of anyone I know that you could talk to that like has experience.
Because Brad is also super
I
routinized.
talked to this guy, Mike Cohen, that like I don't know, and like just thinking back to that conversation, it's like he like just couldn't comprehend the fact that like I would literally do the same thing every day for my entire life if I could.
Yeah, I mean, I can't at least for now. Like I could see, give me 40 and I've done all this stuff. I've climbed Mount Kilimanjaro.
Like see, like none of those like, and when people like talk about it, like, or my parents like say like, wouldn't you want to go to like Italy and like
You don't want
see
dad
the
lore?
Louvre and see fucking like see the Eiffel Tower in France? Is that France, the Eiffel Tower?
Yes.
Like no, I don't want to.
Why?
I don't care.
That's respectable. It's very respectable that you get that. Like it's respectable that you
Like-
know that about yourself.
No, I don't want to.
That's respectable. And again, Constitution is just different because I think there's so many rich human experiences that I haven't had. And it's also incredibly difficult. It's going
Here's
to
the
be
difference.
Can I say one thing before you say this?
Yeah.
It's going to be incredibly difficult. And I know I can foresee this now after having given younger kids advice. It's incredibly difficult to give good, realistic advice if I don't have the perspective to give them advice. So I haven't talked to enough people. I haven't seen enough things. I haven't done enough stuff
Well, that's why we
to
do-
give you good advice. And that's the annoying part.
That's another reason why we do the podcast is it gives us an outlet to talk to more people. Like you would never have talked to Shay or talked to Juan or talked to maybe even Alex, or talked to Stephanie Rudnick or talked to Dave Rudnick or talked to hopefully Cosgrove
Yeah.
or like even like without the podcast. So
Mhm.
maybe that's if you believe that you want to build a level of conviction and experience and knowledge, and that's one of your goals, and that's an infinite game of I want to learn and experience and grow, then the podcast can be a penny on the scale for you of I'm doing things to actively learn about new things, talk to new people, enhance my communication skills, and that can be that can turn the podcast into an infinite game for you.
I don't think it's real evidence though, because
Why?
because talking to someone who's traveled and
That's-
actually traveling give you two very different perspectives.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's like fucking with 3 condoms on. I'm gonna cut that, but like you don't really get the point of it, and so you just kind of miss the point. And the thing is, and again, I don't know why I'm drawn to this, but like Anthony Bourdain and why Chris McCandless was so appealing to me, and people of very unique lifestyles there's so much conviction and they have so much evidence behind what they're saying because they really have talked to thousands of different people, experienced thousands of different meals. And when they say something, they're talking from experience and having this rich evidence-based way of
I
talking.
think talking to people who experience things is in evidence, but it may not be the sole evidence of the thing you're looking for.
Mhm.
But it's evidence enough to continue to do the podcast at least once a week.
Yeah, but no one wants to hear me talk about what Anthony Bourdain went through. They want
Yeah,
to hear
but
that
we
I
do-
went to Count Mill on the
But we
road.
do this like just us talking about bullshit like once a month. Like the other 3-4 times a month that we record a podcast, we're talking about Juan who lives in Spain who eats paella and towards ACL. Or we're talking.
Did he actually say he eats paella?
No, but it's Spanish food. Or we're talking to like whoever, Steph, who lost her father, started a business, was a Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not you just saying stuff. It's
Sure.
You're drawing parallels from other conversations and stuff you've experienced in person, but it's them sharing their story and instilling the things that they've learned through their experiences onto you. So that is a form of the thing that you're looking for. It's obviously more complex than just that and needs more than just that in order to fulfill you. But the podcast can be an outlet to help you, I guess, develop that type of voice and experience those things that you're looking to experience and gain.
I don't know where to go from here. I feel like I've beaten my brain with a meat hammer right now. Just whack.
No, now I'm having a lot of like self-reflection of like,
Dude, I've been in that state for a week.
Is this a bad thing? Or is
This?
No. Like, is the fact that like I'm super content in familiarity a bad thing?
Is the fact that I'm incapable. I'm not incapable of having a routine, but the fact that I'm incapable of enjoying a routine to a certain degree, a character flaw or I think that at some point it's just how you see it. Like at some level, you just get to decide
is.
if it's a good or bad thing, unless you're stabbing people in the
Just-
street, and that's your way to get off. Like at some point, like there's just
It just is.
why did you knock for that?
It just is, I guess, at that point. I don't know.
It's
Like, I
so
think one of the
abstract.
reasons do you think one of the reasons why you quit basketball is because you just did it for so long and like you just wanted to change? Like you found weightlifting, it immediately was like kind
No,
of
when Brad said, but I'd never thought this before. When Brad said the only reason you did it was to prove people wrong, I like sank. And I was like, oh my God, he's actually right. Like he has been watching me for long enough. He didn't even know me before I started basketball, but he just saw me. And that was right. That is 100% right.
You had nothing to prove people wrong. Like okay, full transparency, actually no, transparency is not the right word, but like maybe cushioning your feelings. Like it was pretty adamant. Like you were at the bottom of the totem pole. I mean,
Yeah.
not to like hurt your feelings. But like,
I'm not hurt at all.
And so
I gave you work today.
you don't think that was a little bit of like something to prove other people wrong?
Dog, I was at the bottom of the totem pole when I picked up a basketball. Everyone had been playing 8 years ahead of me.
And you worked your ass off to prove all of those people wrong to make it to college basketball.
Yeah.
So there might be something else there to why you quit.
Nobody-
You had something to prove. You had a lot to prove.
To whom?
That might be the
There was no external voices anymore. Like going
to Boca didn't tell you your shit. You're never
No, they were super supportive. They told me not to quit as I was thinking about quitting. It was literally a mental manifestation of everything I had worked for up until that point, and all of those voices just washed away because there was evidence
Do you think
that
if
they
you
were
had people,
wrong.
like kind of making fun of you and stuff, you would be
If
funny?
at that point there was people in the stands who, after every game, were like, "Dude, you're never gonna get actual playing time," I probably would still be doing it.
So for example, like last year when Seti called you and he's like, "Oh, and Max still can't shoot at a college level," you still had those type of things. Or like, hey,
Think about it like this. Think about it like this.
You're never gonna be able to like do that in the game or whatever.
Listen,
like
I have
that.
multiple good examples. Think about it like this. What happened last year when me and you were playing ones and JC was watching?
And Jesus said that would kill me. That he would kill me.
No,
Okay.
said he would kill me, and that because you were like, "Yo, JC, you gotta play Chris," and he looked at me, he was like, did the side eye thing, and he was like 11-0, and then just walked away. What happened on the next podcast? I was talking about coming back to college basketball. That happened immediately after. I was like, you know what? I kind of want to just come back, take JC's spot, and then it's always fuck you, watch me. Like I need external people to doubt what I'm doing, and that is for whatever reason, it's just there. I have so much evidence to like.
Let me use that against you now. Yo, you're being lazy, and then I'd be like, make up some bullshit.
It's just always there, man. It's in the back of my head. It's like I love proving people wrong, and because I'm pretty good at it, I'm willing to.
Like, you have enough evidence. Like
I'm willing to crawl over broken glass to prove you wrong in some aspects.
I mean, I don't know. That's a pretty interesting motivator.
Very.
It's very limited,
Oh yeah.
and you're very reliant on other people.
It's
I don't know.
it's weird, man.
Proving, like, to be honest with you, like, I get a lot more fulfillment out of like just like doing something for myself than I do of proving anybody else. You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, the first thought of like season wraps up. I just came in versus Mitchell, banged 2 threes. We almost won the first that playoff game, which would have been like maybe the first playoff win in X amount of years, maybe more than 10, whatever it was. And like I was able to sit with myself and look at those goals that I wrote down, like we talked about in the podcast with Andrew, like I talked about with my dad, and see where I was last year, the things I was writing down, and the goals to where I am this year, and the goals I'm running for next year.
Mm-hmm.
At no moment was I like, I really proved all these people wrong.
You'd rather prove yourself right than prove other people wrong.
Yeah. I was so much more content and satisfied with the, not I don't want to say satisfied because that word definitely has a bad connotation, but like just content and fulfilled with the personal growth from where I was at point A to where I was point B than anything that, and like nobody from high school. And listen, like I've always had an unorthodox jump shot. Like I've always heard it from every level I've been at.
Yeah.
And
including this one. Shout out Danny Harry. We almost missed that. Shout out Danny Harry. Drop the info.
drop the info for the ones.
All right, go on.
Like I've always like dealt with like that of like people saying, oh, it's not gonna work at the next level. Oh, it's like whatever, like you're not actually a good fake shooter, whatever. But like when I made it in terms of like made it as in like, I mean, played rotational basketball minutes, made rotational basketball shots, made shots in the playoffs, made I was 4th on the team in 3 points made in 9th in minutes. Like I don't want to say significantly impactful to the team this year, but I had made significant impacts. And the first thing that came to my mind was just being proud of myself as opposed to like proving up, like I'm happy I proved everyone wrong. Like fuck you, you know?
This is where the character flaw comes in. I wrote this down in the journal yesterday and I wasn't going to talk about it, but now I will. I wrote down, I'm doing things I don't enjoy to get results I don't want to impress people I don't like. And so that's the problem with using the external motivation of the doubt is like you get those things. You get something that you didn't want, but that because other people said you couldn't do it, you're just like, well, now I have to do it. And it's just a reflex. So you're not choosing your endeavors specifically to you. You're just doing it based on what people say is hard to get or that you can't do. And so like, dude.
So do you think that's one of the reasons why you might be motivated to do some insane shit? Because other people will be like, yo, this guy's insane.
No, because it's not that's not doubt, that's reinforcement. Like the actual internal drive, I don't know where it comes from, like I said, because that's why I don't know why I'm drawn to Anthony Bourdain. I don't know why. I haven't done enough self-reflection to know why that's a thing. But the doubt part of my life has been so like the center point of everything, man. Like I can rattle off at least 7 names of parents or people I went to high school with who couldn't even fathom that I was playing AAU basketball in Toronto. And then so then to go a step further from that to the point where they're like, wow, I can't really say much. He played college basketball in Buffalo. That's so far out of their comprehension that there's an undeniable amount of an undeniable amount of evidence that I did what they said I couldn't do.
You should have to walk around. Like,
I don't want to just
in the back of your mind. Like you see them and I'd be like, I did something that you said I couldn't do. Fuck you.
It's not even
gives you this
but it needs to be undeniable too, where it's like you thought I couldn't play AAU basketball. I played college. You couldn't even fathom that was a thing.
There's nothing that you can.
Yes. I love stomping that out of people.
Like that isn't.
But it's an infinite game, but it's an infinitely depressing game where it's like just because you said I couldn't do something, I have to go whack-a-mole all of these people's doubts.
Like those people don't even care.
They don't even know. They don't
even know exactly.
They don't even know. I could rattle their names off right now. They're never gonna watch this. They're never gonna know. So I'm in a terrible dilemma.
I've never really felt like
I need a therapist. I don't know what's going on.
I've never internally reflected on that before, but like, yeah, I'm not motivated. Like I have a pretty easy job just saying like, okay, fuck you, and just like moving on and just keep the all.
Well, now I've gotten to that. This is definitely a side effect of the cut where I have people doubting me or throwing things at me, and I literally just don't care. I'm so tired. I'm so hungry. I'm so lean that like the other day I found myself, someone said something that would normally trigger me, and I was like, you got it. You're correct. Whatever you say, I'm gonna go with because I don't have the energy for it anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't. I'm trying to find vivid examples of like people said I wouldn't be able to do this.
You just let it go.
And then I was like really motivated by that, but I'm struggling.
I have many.
But I'm trying to actually reflect of like when people said like, yo, because there's obviously been a lot of times.
I think this is a good thing though that like I know I see it though.
For example,
I see it.
Danny Harry. Shout out Danny Harry. Like one of the
Two shout outs.
when he commented on the thing, like if you want
shot's never.
your jump shot's never gonna work at a college level, whatever, and like
Do you want me to read one to you right now so you can get you fired up?
no, because it's not going to because I just let those things roll off my shoulder because I don't care because the only thing I care about is prove myself right. I don't care about proving anybody wrong. Like there was a point where I wanted to maybe respond and be like, search me up or like Google me or like say something like that.
I almost said that for you. I almost said, what color is your college basketball jersey?
Yeah, like but I just nothing can push me on the edge. I don't care enough. Like at the end of the day, I was able to do something this year that I am proud of, regardless of anything.
It's a much more healthy way of looking at things.
I was able to do something this year that like I am proud of and that fulfilled me.
We're about to get hit with the 5-minute mark.
Yeah. And nothing that Danny Harry can say about how my jump shot looks can take that away from me.
Yeah, because you have evidence to suggest the other.
Exactly, because I have evidence to suggest the opposing. Like I can show you 11 times that this worked.
They went in.
So like you can't say anything, and like that I don't like that doesn't drive me like at all.
Yeah, dude, but like I think this
It's super interesting because I'm trying to think of like other examples of like when people said things that really motivated me.
this is but Loki, this is what I needed because after talking to Brad, like before it was just I was blind to like what was actually motivating me. But now that it's out in front of me, I spotted it everywhere. And so now I know that. And so now I can choose to find something else that motivates me. But the choosing is now a result.
Can
Like
you choose something to find something that motivates you?
you can choose to look for things. Like this is what Alex Mosey says. I'm going to continue to quote him because I'm unoriginal and I don't know. But he says that with the cat and the cheese analogy, he's like, a lot of the times in the beginning of your career, you just have to know that there's cheese out there. And then you have this motivating force behind you where it's like, well, my dad said I couldn't do it. My parents didn't love, whatever it is. It's like, that is a much more potent fuel in the beginning. It's less sustaining over time, but it's like, if you constantly look for cheese, you'll never make it to the point where you actually get to see the fruits of your labor. And so looking for cheese is actually a less efficient way of trying to find motivation. But knowing that it's out there, you can use the negative motivation to get to the point where it's like, okay, I have cheese now. So like with him, his example was that his dad was constantly telling him to just take the safe path, go down and do this, whatever. And so he dropped everything, dropped a really high level job that everyone was approving of and was like, oh my God, you did the 9-to-5 path or whatever, moved all the way across the country. As he was driving there, called his dad, said, hey, I'm not doing this. Then his dad got really mad. But then every day that he was thinking about quitting, in the back of his head was, I have to prove my father wrong. And so then he got to a point though, where he actually realized he loved business. And so then that sustained him for the rest of his career. So the negative fuel in the beginning to find sustaining fuel over time.
I'm trying to like create parallels in my life to be able to understand what you were saying because it's unfamiliar to me. I'm just like still going through like, I don't know,
Which is a hilarious difference in constitution. It's crazy. To
maybe
me.
like a non-basketball thing is like me and my brother. Well, go at it. My brother, engineering and business, double degree at University of Western Ontario, which is a very good program. Like
Yes.
he's gonna be set for life once he graduates with these 2 designations. And like he's always ripping on me, like you can't just always do basketball. You can't just play basketball all the time. You're gonna be living in my basement. My little brother, who's 2 years younger than me, saying all this stuff.
Yeah.
And he's like, you need to start looking for it. This was while we were driving here this year, at the beginning of the year,
Like September.
And he's like, you need to start working for an internship now. Like my friends who are all looking for these internships that you're looking for is like, they're already starting this this summer and already starting it now. And you're so behind. You're never gonna get an internship. You're never gonna get a job. And you're gonna live in my basement. That's something that would very much motivate you. Did your little brother tell you to live in your basement?
Does that motivate you?
No, not at all. And now that I fortunately landed an awesome paid full-time internship in a field that I'm interested in, I'm just proud of myself that I was able to be able to find that and interview well. And
This is also the problem I find with like, I've applied to 50 different internships, didn't hear back for a single one, but like I can feel that I'm not putting the effort in because no one's telling me I can't do anything. And like, so now I'm really like trying to find a why or an avenue or something.
do you think you would have been way better at sales if your
Someone was like,
was like, yo, you know what? I don't think this is for you, bro. Instead of like, yo, you could be good at this. You could be good at this.
Dude, listen, there was a time where he pulled up me into his office and he was like, hey, you need to get a sale or we're going to fire you. And then I left the office and all of the other people were sitting there. And I had a conversation with Lance, the CEO, and he gave me all this positive reinforcement. I went out that day. That positive reinforcement lasted like a couple hours. Had a couple decent conversations, didn't get a sale. Got to the point where Christian and Lance brought me into their office together, and they said, if you don't get a sale, maybe this isn't for you. Those words left both of their mouths. Went out that week, got 4 sales. It is littered through my life that any form of doubt that's thrown at me where it says you can't do this thing, I managed to do it. And it's just a weird place to be where like you're looking for an internship and you don't know why you're looking for an internship or what internship you're looking for or any number of things.
Yeah, I think you need a new motivated.
Well, I'm looking. I'm really out here looking, bro.
Leads of like what it could be.
My new internal motivation. Brad is super adamant about the fact that it needs to be process or journey related, which is super amorphous and doesn't really mean much to me right now. But I'm going to continue to try things. And over time, I'm hoping one of them pans out. Because now at least I know. Like this is the good thing that came of this, where it's like before I was just blindly following this, would have spurts of motivation up and down, didn't really know why. Now I know why, and I could see it constantly in my own psychology. So I'm going to continue to watch myself, weirdly enough to say it that way, and see if there's other internal things driving me. Because like I said, I don't know why I'm motivated to weightlift. I have an idea, sort of dark,
Talk about it off the podcast.
but
I think
I
know that too.
don't know what the internal drive is for other things in my life as well. Because I also read a lot. That's what Brad brought up. He said, maybe your passion is reading. Because I don't read for anybody else. I don't read because someone says I can't read. I don't read. I just read because I love it. And I like
You love
taking.
reading?
I really do. Recently, I finished 4 books
I think 3
one of the
things that you're like find fulfillment in is experience and all that stuff. And I think that reading other people's experiences and stuff is something that
it's helpful and it's interesting and
Yeah.
it's new and it's different and it also changes my perspective on the world, which is
things that
one of the
you're looking for.
so it's parallel. But we're currently
we
going to
gotta-
get kicked
we gotta
out.
call it.
So I hope
Thank
you guys
for
enjoyed
listening.
this.
This is long as shit, and I had no idea.
I told you it was going to be this long. I told you that.
All right, thank you guys for listening.